A Simplex converted to a Great Western Railway Prairie tank part 84, refitting the spectacle plate and soldering it in position. On the day that the sheets of brass arrived from Blackgate's Engineering, these were also in the package. A bag of 1/16 of an inch diameter copper rivets and a piece of boiler banding. Normally I would order boiler banding in a much longer length, but unfortunately Blackgate's Engineering had run out of stock, so Matt kindly guillotined me this piece off a sheet. And here's a small bag of copper rivets, 1/16 of an inch diameter by 3/8 of an inch long. The original riveting on most of the superstructure uses rivets that are 1/32 of an inch in diameter, but I need this joint to be quite strong, that's why I went for the 1/16 diameter. The first thing to do is to drill out the holes from 1/32 to 1/16, and for that, as usual, I'm using my handheld Proxon motor tool. This job started off badly really. The 1/16 drill bit that I'm using is quite blunt, but it's only blunt on the point. It's fine for enlarging existing holes, but when I tried to drill a piece of solid brass, I couldn't drill a hole. I'm not sure, but I don't think that the Drill Doctor 750X drill sharpener that I bought is capable of sharpening such a small drill bit. I ended up using a metric drill which is slightly above 1/16 of an inch, and as you can see from this clip, the rivets are a good fit in the holes. I intend to solder these rivets in position, and also resolder the piece of brass angle that holds the spectacle plate to the sides of the cab. One side done, now to do the other side. Same principle, but the drill is much sharper. I ran into a bit of a strange problem. When I drilled the holes in the other side, they were too small for the rivets. And here I'm running the drill bit through a few times just to slightly enlarge the holes to take the rivets. And now I have the fit that I require. All the rivets are in place. All I need to do now is hold the spectacle plate in the correct position and drill through the holes into the brackets. Using the spectacle plate as a guide, I spotted the holes on the brackets to see where they were going to be. And as you can clearly see here, the holes are very close to the edge of the brackets. But it ended up being okay. I drilled through the brackets at both sides. This made quite a lot of mess. Time to have a bit of a clean up. I started off with a paintbrush and then moved on to the vacuum cleaner to get rid of all the swarf. It's very important to do this job with the superstructure fitted to the locomotive. During the time I was working on the superstructure, removing the paint and repairing it generally, I mounted it to a wooden framework, and this was fine, but for this job, which is fairly important, I think it's better to work with the superstructure in place on the locomotive. I've drilled all of the holes through the brass angle, and the holes weren't quite as close to the edge as I thought they were first going to be. I'm using a rivet snap to tap the rivets into place, and by using this tool, the heads of the rivet are undamaged. As you can see from this clip, the geometry isn't brilliant, but never mind, it will be okay when it's finished. After fitting 4 out of 5 of the rivets, the top hole needed a bit of persuasion, and after running a drill bit through it, everything was fine. I'm tapping all of the rivets to make sure that they and the spectacle plate are fully square with the bracket. Apart from the gap, which is not my doing, everything is okay. Now I'm going to solder everything together. This is not the way to do it. You can't fire a blowtorch at a piece of soft solder. The solder just melts and forms blobs all over the place. You need to approach it as though you're doing it with an iron. Heat the part from the other side, then apply the solder. And as you can see here, all of the rivets are now soldered into the bracket, and the bracket is also soldered to the spectacle plate and the cab side. Originally the spectacle plate was soldered to the top of the tank, and I'm redoing that, but properly this time. Using a small cutting disc, I cut the heads off the rivets, and now I'm using a paper sanding disc to clean up the surplus solder, and it's a good idea to wear a mask when you do this. These clip-on paper sanding discs are really wonderful. When they wear out, you just click them off the shaft and fit a new one. They really are very good things. I'm going to show the same process on the other side, but speed it up. Have a close look at this. As you can see, the 32nd rivets coming in from the other side of the cab have just been hammered over. In this clip I'm tapping the 1/16 copper rivets in place. But I'm not going to bend these over, I'm going to solder them like you've just seen me do on the other side. After soldering the bracket and the rivets at this side, it was time for a clean up, just as I did at the other side. I think I'm going to have to do something about the state of the bracket. because with the soldering and the bent rivets it looks very messy. Time to use some JB Weld. This stuff's really good to use. It's a 2-part epoxy mix, and the resin has some steel particles in it, and when it sets, it's very strong, yet it's easy to sand with a piece of emery cloth, which is what I will do once it's set. The time has come to fit the roof temporarily in place and then stand back and look at it. At this stage I noticed that the soldering on the top part of the bunker was not very good, so I redid this, once again using my small blowtorch. And now, without all the movement, the superstructure is far more rigid. This engine's come a long way since I first got it. We're now on episode 84. There's still quite a lot to do, but it's taking shape. I can see the solder run on the right-hand tank, the one on the left in this image, but that's nothing and can be very easily dealt with a wire brush. I thought it would be a good idea to put the piece of boiler banding somewhere safe where I wouldn't lose it. That concludes episode 84. Stay well, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.